Life is a winding road, no telling where it goes. Driving through days and nights, won't stop for traffic light.
Hi everyone, and welcome back. My name is Joelle Fawcett, and I am your host and the founder of the SoL Method, where our mission is to be your guide to heal from the past, be at peace in the present, and create a future you love. And welcome to Season 2, Episode 9 of the SoL Method podcast, titled Be Guided. And today's episode is going to continue on our mini-series, which has been all about the metaphysical. And we are leaning into spirit guides today. So last time I talked about some of the work that I do as a psychic medium, about speaking with spirit, how to start doing that if you're interested in that. And now we're going to bring it in to be a little more specific and talk about spirit guides. And before I even get started, I have to give credit to 3 amazing women who have taught me everything about this topic. And that is Marianne DeMarco and Gabrielle Bernstein. I mentioned them in the last episode. They are amazing. Sincerely to both of you, thank you for the work you have done. They both have published many books. I highly, highly recommend them if you're interested in learning more about the metaphysical, more about the universe and spirit guides from a book format. I also have to thank my Reiki master and teacher, Trish Coady, who has taught me on a very personal level about spirit guides. So thank you, all of you. You're amazing. And the reason why I wanted to get into this today is because it's Black Friday. And I don't know if you guys all feel this energetic shift that happens at this time of year. I know I do. And I have such a love-hate relationship with the holidays. I mean, can anyone relate to this? It's like such a fun and amazing time of year. And it's great. And it also can produce so much stress and anxiety because not only are we dealing with the pressures of the things that we're supposed to do or attend or purchase or create or whatever it is, we often have to deal with memories, things that are coming up for us, maybe even past trauma that we haven't dealt with from holidays of the past. And so as magical as this time of year can be, it also has this polarity to it where there often is a lot of heavy stuff that comes up during this time and a lot of pressure, anxiety, frustration, and all of those things, all right? And I'm sure many of you can relate to that. As an adult, especially now that I'm responsible for kind of making the event happen in my house for my children, it definitely gleams a new light and a new pressure and makes the practices that I'm going to talk about in this episode even more important. And if you know me, if you're one of my friends, you know that I'm a holiday junkie. Like, I start blasting Christmas music. I started about 2 weeks ago, right? I am a holiday junkie. I love all things holidays. I love the hustle and the bustle. I am one of those weird people where I adore crowds. Like, if it's busy, I want to be there and I want to be a part of it. And there also is the pressure. There's the pressure to produce meaningful gifts for the people on my list. There's pressure to have my house in order. There's pressure to make the magic happen for my children, right? And I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that as well. So for me, these practices have been a lifesaver. And I can honestly say that last year was the first year of my life where the holidays were easy. They were as easy as breathing. I took my time and I got really, really committed to what we're going to talk about today. And I can't even tell you the night and day difference. When I woke up on Christmas morning, I felt relaxed. I felt refreshed. I felt excited, and I didn't have the anxiety hangover and pure exhaustion that I used to feel every year before that. So let's get into it. Today we are talking about spirit guides. And everyone, whether you believe it or not, okay, doesn't really matter. The universe doesn't care whether or not you believe necessarily. It just kind of does its thing. Everybody has spirit guides, and they come in many forms, and they have many purposes. And their overall goal is to lead you away from the ego, away from fear, from separation, from anxiety, frustration. They want to lead you away from all of those things and return you to love. And if you've listened to the first season of my podcast, you know my personal paradigm on this. And put very simply, it is that we enter this world in a state of love, in a state of trust, in a state of presence, and in a state of authenticity. And then somewhere along the way, usually around the age of 3, 4, 5, the ego awakens in our mind. That voice, right? The voice that never stops, it constantly contradicts itself and can make you crazy if you listen to it, right? That voice enters our minds, that's our ego. And the nature of that voice is to want to protect us from what it views as this scary, scary world outside of us. And until then, we hadn't really been scared of that world because we were in a state of love. But then we enter this state of fear the moment we really develop language. And something usually happens, something that wakes us up to, oh my goodness, maybe everything in the world isn't nice and cuddly and friendly, right? And the purpose of the ego is to protect us. However, it usually results in us being separate from that state of love that we were born into. And I really believe that everything that happens in our lives is designed to help return us to that perfect state. That perfect state of love, of authenticity, of being present with yourself and the people around you, and letting go of the fear, letting go of the separation, and seeing you over there as me and me as you. That there is no distinction, there is no specialness, that people are people because we all have a piece of God inside of us, right? So these spirit guides, overall, their purpose is to help return us to this state of love. And when we call on them, that's their desire. Now, some of these guides will be with us for our entire lives. Some of them will only be with us for a portion of our lives. And you probably have gone through several pivots in your life when you're going down like a certain path. Most of us have probably had this happen at some point. We have a plan. We're going to college, or we're going to get the job, or we're going to marry the girl, we're going to have the white picket fence, we're going to open a business, whatever it is. We have this mental plan, and then something happens, and life says, here you go. Here's a little bit of a challenge. Here's a little bit of an opportunity to change, and we pivot, right? Whether it's a positive pivot or a negative pivot, it doesn't really matter. But when we make these huge life pivots, sometimes it's out of a negative thing. Maybe there's a really horrible diagnosis, or maybe there's a death, right? Or maybe we go through a life change like a divorce. And we wind up pivoting our lives, whether it's by choice or out of choice. And a lot of times when that happens, our spirit guides will change as well because our direction has changed. Okay. Now, these spirit guides, in a very simple way to describe what they are entities and beings of the highest truth and compassion, with the desire to bring you away from fear, away from separateness, and back to love. Very, very simple. I believe that every single one of us does have a guardian angel, and that we have spirit guides that are around us all the time, and that they want to support us. I'm going to say that again. These guides want to support you. They are waiting for you. However, they cannot intervene until you ask. Okay, and we're going to get into that. So, just to be clear and give a little bit of distinction, because I know last week I talked about speaking with spirit. So, when I speak with spirit about myself, I'm praying, I'm meditating, I'm looking for an answer in my life. I'm cradling someone in my life in a certain energy, whether I'm cradling them in love, in comfort, in peace, whatever it is. I call on my spirit guides to support me with that when it's all about me. When I am doing a reading for someone, sometimes I call on my spirit guides for support there as well. It depends on the situation. Sometimes the other person's guides show up and want to communicate. Sometimes it's someone else entirely, right? And then kind of the third thing that happens more quite often is when I'll be out and about and I'll kind of get a download about somebody around me, or spirit will tell me something about somebody. Whether it's, that wave of emotions, wave of memory, maybe even a warning. That doesn't necessarily come from my spirit guide. Sometimes it just comes from the universe as like, here you go, here's this information about this person. And then I use the guidance that I've learned over time in how to either present that with love or to hold that and maybe pray for that person silently, or just offer my listening ear in that moment if it's appropriate. Okay. So, like I said, the work that I do with my spirit guides really is all about me. And the work that you do with your guides is going to be all about you. You can really, really think about them as your team. These guides are on your side. And it is the most awesome feeling in the world when you connect with them. And like I said in the last episode, I've never been afraid of trying to connect with my spirit guides because energy follows intention. And if you're feeling a little nervous about trying to connect with your spirit guides, always remember that your energy is going to follow your intention as well. As long as you go into that desire with the intention to only connect with beings of the highest truth and compassion, that's all that's going to be able to come through. Okay. You don't have to worry about connecting with anything that isn't of that pure light and love. Now, if you go looking for trouble, you will find it. Very simple. I wouldn't recommend it. I really wouldn't. So, now, one of the things that I said a few minutes ago is that your guides are waiting for you, but they will not intervene in your life unless you, number one, ask. You must ask. Or, number two, your guardian angels, I believe, will intervene in your life if you are in a life-threatening situation and it is not yet your time. We've all heard these stories about people who were on the brink of death, or there was a situation that happened where someone was required to have superhuman strength or the capacity to withstand superhuman pain, and they did. And they were able to do that, right? And I really believe that that's the only time that your angels or guides will intervene in your life without you asking, is when you are in that life-threatening situation and it's not your time yet. And when it's your time, it's your time. Okay. So now, why it's so important to ask is for this reason. When you're asking for help, it is an act of surrender. It is an act of putting your ego aside and stepping into the place of saying, I would like help. I need guidance. I, of my own strength, my own will, my own capacity, do not have the ability to do this. And that is what gives your guides, or the angel, or even if you're calling on an archangel, it gives them the space to step in and cradle you with that love, with that peace, with that joy, and support you through that. Okay? You know, in this time of year, one of the mistakes I've made for so many years is believing that I have to do it all by myself. You know, I'm incredibly stubborn. And if you're my friend, you're laughing right now because it's like the biggest understatement of the world, right? I'm an incredibly stubborn person. I'm very strong, strong-willed, very persistent. And I have this incredible belief that there's really nothing I can't do. Right? There's not much I can't learn how to do. I believe that. And to a certain extent, that's good. However, it can get bad very quickly when I get to that state of overcommitting or continuing to push at something that needs to be done. And I see this a lot in this time of year where people get so worked up and so frustrated because they believe they have to do it all themselves. They have to have the perfect house or the perfect gifts or, you know, the perfect decorations or look a certain way. And the amount of weight that puts on our society and our culture as a whole is not good. It's not. And the reality is that everything we're searching for in doing that can never be found there. It can only be found by releasing and letting go. And the magic of the holidays, the magic of whatever you celebrate, whether it's Hanukkah, Yule, Christmas, Kwanzaa, whatever it is, the magic of that moment is found in authentic connection with yourself and with other people. But if you're caught in your ego, you can't do that. You can't find that place. And so that's why, again, I wanted to do this episode now, is because this is the moment of all moments that us as a culture needs to take a breath, to slow down. And I wouldn't even say remember the reason for the season, right? Remember what you're looking for. And you have support waiting for you to get there. So I want to walk you through the way that I've connected with my spirit guides. And this is how I would start. There's a lot of different ways to connect with your spirit guides. And like speaking with spirit, this is a muscle. Okay? The more you reach out, the more you pray, the more you surrender, the more familiar you will be with the presence of your guides. Okay, and each one is going to feel a little bit different. It's pretty awesome. So, a while ago, I did a video that was all about the practice of EFT, or Emotional Freedom Technique, or tapping, right? And I walked you through the different meridian points on your body, like here, and going through, right? And the place I had you find at the beginning and the end of that practice is the same place that I use to meet with my spirit guides. And I call it your peace place. And so for this, what we want to establish is a place in your mind that you go whether it's in a comfy room with couches and chairs and a rolling fire in the fireplace, whether it's on the beach, whether it's in the mountains. We want to establish a place that's so comfortable and peaceful for you. And you're going to go there in your mind when you go into this meditation. And the more often you go there, the more familiar this place is going to become, and the more expansive it will be. I promise. So now, when my coach was taking me through this, I thought for sure, so I'm not really a beach girl, all right? One of my best friends, Yana, she gets me to the beach one time a year for her birthday. That's it. Then I'm done. And I'm good. I'll wash the sand off my toes. No thanks. So I thought for sure that my peace place was going to be in a mountain, like on a cliff on the side of a mountain, looking over, maybe seeing the sunrise or sunset or the stars or whatever, right? And I kind of had my heart set on something like that when my coach was saying, like, hey, we're going to find a peace place. This is what it's going to be, blah, 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 right? So I closed my eyes in that moment, and immediately I saw myself not on the side of a mountain. And I'm happy I wasn't on a beach either, but I was in a forest. Okay. And when you close your eyes to do this, you're sitting comfortably up tall, your legs are relaxed. You can rest your back on something. I wouldn't recommend resting your head on something because often it's very easy to fall asleep that way. But so you're going to sit, take some calming breaths, and invite Spirit to show you your peace place. You're going to breathe in and breathe out. And whatever images come to your mind, go with it. Don't doubt it. Go with it. Okay? For me, I was sitting on a rock with these thick ferns all around me. You couldn't even see the forest floor. All of these thick ferns all around me. And there were trees, and the sun's filtering through. It was beautiful and warm and comfortable and incredibly peaceful. And you know the kind of sun where you can see like the little gnats flying in the, yeah, that was happening everywhere. It was really nice. And I knew that that was my peace place, and that is where I was going to do a lot of work. I was going to do a lot of work. And so to connect with your spirit guides, that's where I would start. Take some deep breaths, maybe turn on some relaxing music. Close your eyes and allow Spirit to guide you to your peace place. If nothing comes to you right away, that's okay. All right? Again, like I talked about in the last episode, sometimes we get so anxious about it that we want to make it happen, right? That we almost miss it. That we wind up darting around mentally at all these different places. So if something doesn't come to you right away, that's okay. Just take some deep breaths, relax, and breathe. And I promise you, the image of a place will come to you. Okay? One of the ways to get anchored in your place is to go through the 5 senses there in that meditation. So when I was sitting on the rock, I thought about what could I see? What could I taste? What could I touch? What did it feel like? What could I hear? And what could I smell? Be present in your peace place. And this is going to be a sacred place for you to meet with your spirit guides, as well as potentially to do a lot more work. I know when I process through emotions, or I process through past memories, or I'm releasing a lot of junk, I start in my peace place, I tap, I go through that process, and then I end in my peace place. And that consistency anchors the process for me. And ever since I started this place, me sitting on a rock in this forest, has expanded. And there is a lot more there now. It's not just me on a rock. There's also a cottage there. There's a stream. There's a lot of people there that I've met with and a lot of experiences that I've put there. And before, if anyone's out there like, oh my gosh, this is so woo-woo that she's talking about this, I have a very firm belief, and I'll tell you this right now. I don't believe there's anything in your mind that isn't real. I know that may be terrifying to say, right? And I think I talked about this on one of the podcast episodes, but I will say it now. I don't believe that there's anything in your mind that isn't real. And the reason for that is because you're human, and so am I. We have a piece of God, a piece of the divine spirit planted in our hearts at birth. That's what makes us separate from other creatures on this planet. But because we're human and not solely divine entities, I don't believe we have the power to create. I believe we have the power to imagine, we have the ability to project, we have the ability to put things together in unique ways, but I don't believe we have the power to create something that wasn't created already by spirit. So a good way to kind of think about this is like, try to imagine a color that doesn't exist. Right? Try to put together an animal in your head that doesn't exist. Now, you can put together something like a centaur, where you take pieces of things and put them together, right? Or like a dragon, or other mythical creatures. Sure, absolutely. Do they necessarily exist here on Earth in the physical form? Maybe, maybe not. But do we have the ability to create new mentally? I don't think we do, because we are spirits having a human experience. So this peace place that you're going to, I believe, has been waiting for you. And it's the perfect place to meet with your spirit guides. So when you get there, relax and ask your spirit guide of the highest truth and compassion that they would, whatever it is, give you peace, give you joy, give you guidance. And it can be very general. It doesn't necessarily have to be specific. Or if you have a specific situation that you need guidance on, take it to them. They are waiting for you to ask. It can even be, spirit guides of the highest truth and compassion, I come before you now, surrendering the fear, wanting to partner with you for the rest of my life. I'd love to meet you. It's a very, very simple prayer, and you'll be amazed at what happens. In my peace place, I have met 2 of my spirit guides. I have also met with former versions of myself from past memories. I have met with deceased loved ones. Very specifically, I had an amazing conversation with my grandfather, who had passed away several years ago. And I met him there and just had the most joyous experience connecting with him. And so this place is going to be a soul place for you. And if you give it just the tiniest bit of trust, if you crack the door, I promise you the universe will swoop into that space. So now, sometimes I said I met 2 of my spirit guides there. They don't always meet you there. For me, I believe that's the perfect place to start because it's a grounded space, it's a meditational practice, and it's an intentional surrendering of your ego, surrendering of the fear, and an acknowledgement of the desire to connect and the desire for guidance. Right? Start there. Some other ways to connect with your spirit guides is free writing. And this is another one of my favorite ways to connect with my guides, is writing down on a piece of paper what I need guidance on, and then letting my hand move. Just don't stop writing. Get committed to writing it out. Say, spirit guides of the highest truth and compassion, I am feeling so much anxiety about the holidays right now. I feel like there's so much pressure on me. My kids have every event in the world, and now they want this incredibly expensive X, Y, and Z, and let it go. Let everything that physically is happening, all of the emotions that you're feeling, write it down on that page and see what happens. For me, most of the time when that happens is I start out with the word I'm feeling this. I need guidance with this. I'm feeling overwhelmed with all of these things. And that at some point along the way, my writing changes a little bit. And it goes from I to you. And that's when I know that the stream of writing and the stream of consciousness is now guidance being delivered to me. And I'll receive guidance like, remember who you are, that you are full of love and light. Cradle the situation in love and compassion. Be present with what's going on. And even things that might seem silly, like you're amazing, you're beautiful, you're grounded. All of these reminders. If it comes into your head, write it down and let the flow happen. And that is an absolutely awesome way to connect with your spirit guides in a very tactile way, because you're going to be able to go back to it. It's written there in your journal, in your diary. I wouldn't recommend doing this on an electronic device unless you have to. I really believe it's way better to do the stream of consciousness writing with your physical hand, using a pen or a pencil, or if you get super fancy, a quill. Because the physical act of writing does connect to your brain in a different way than typing. Okay. Some other ways to connect with your spirit guides could be asking for a sign. If you've been praying around something, or you really need guidance on a specific topic, or something's weighing you down, you can ask your spirit guides for a sign. Whether it's an animal, a flower, it could be a song lyric. You can ask them for a sign and wait. In the metaphysical text, A Course in Miracles, there is a quote that goes, "For those of you who are in the state of light and love, those people who have stepped away from the fear, you can afford to wait. You can afford to wait without the impatience. Because only fear and anxiety and ego require a rush. When you're in a state of love and in a state of surrender, when you're asking for a sign, you're asking to connect with your spirit guides, stay in that state of love, release the fear, and you can afford to wait. And the timing of spirit will be perfect. I promise." Some of the other times that I've had my spirit guides connect to me have been when I have been in a Reiki session. I've been having my Reiki master work on me, and I've met with my spirit guides in a Reiki meditation. I've also almost ran into one, which was kind of funny. I will tell that story because I think it's amusing. Okay, so do you guys ever have that experience where you almost run into somebody physically? Like you're rounding a corner and someone's standing there and you have that like, whoa, like, you bounce back before you physically smack them because you sense their presence, right? I had that happen to me where I opened the bathroom door and I went to walk out and I was like, it felt like someone was standing right there. I bounced back and I looked again, and that was how I met one of my spirit guides. And at the time, I had been intentionally asking and journaling about meeting my guides. And there he was, waiting for me. So it can happen in unexpected ways. Remember, the how isn't important. You set the intention. Your energy will direct that intention. Your intention will direct the energy. And in that symbiotic relationship, you can release that to the universe and let the how be up to spirit. And remember, your spirit guides are waiting for you. They're waiting to connect with you and support you. So if you're watching this now, just take a deep breath. In through your nose, out through your mouth. In our culture, we glorify the ability to produce. We glorify the ability to be busy. We glorify the getting done. And the way that we show how to do that in our culture is by kind of pulling our bootstraps up and putting that weight on our shoulders and going about our day. And most of the time, we do these things that we're supposed to do, chase the job, chase the relationship, chase the things. And we get to the end of the day and we're wiped out and exhausted. And we feel like we're doing the things that we're supposed to do, and we're completely miserable. And this is what I want to suggest. What if it didn't have to be up to you? What if all of the stuff, all of the accomplishment, all of the being busy, all of the forcing things to move, what if you could release that and give it to these spiritual beings of the highest truth and compassion and allow them to work for you? Allow them to take the burden off of you and come down and guide you, rather than you living in the worry and the anxiety and the frustration of trying to do it all by yourself. Because the reality is that you don't have to. Peace is waiting for you and can happen in the blink of an eye. And the best part, to be honest with you, is the more you do this, the more you get used to the presence of your guides, the more you learn to rely on them in the moment, the more you will turn to them. I mean, honestly, even the other day, it was late at night, I was on the phone in kind of a stressful situation, and I just took 5 minutes. 5 seconds. Didn't have 5 minutes at that time. I took 5 seconds and said a prayer. I said, Spirit guides, and I said 2 of their names. I need you to be here with me now. Guide my words. Guide me through this. And be with this person on the other end of the phone. Give them love and joy and cradle them in peace. And it is amazing how much the energy shifted in that moment. That person on the other end of the phone went from being upset and full of an agenda, full of really fear, to relaxing down and starting to walk into a more authentic place. And calling my spirit guides in, I truly believed allowed us to have a really authentic conversation and leave that interaction in an amazing space. According to that metaphysical text, A Course in Miracles, it defines a miracle as any time a person chooses to return to love. It says that miracles are your birthright, and that returning to love, the releasing of fear, releasing of anxiety, and coming back to that state of authenticity, that is your birthright, and that is a miracle. And that you should experience that every day of your life. Your spirit guides are your team, and they're waiting for you to support you in that process. All right, everybody, how are we feeling? I really hope and pray that this holiday season will be a time of miracles for you. That it's not about the stuff, it's not about the decorations. It's about you being true to you and being authentic with everybody around you. And if you would like support with that, I am here for you. I would love to hear from you. You can hit me up on the Soul Method Facebook page, which is at the Soul Method Yoga, or you can email me. My email is Joelle, Joelle, at the.SoL.method.com. It's the.SoL.method.com. Until next time, everybody, I hope you have an amazing rest of your holiday weekend.